Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today, Masechtas Kiddushin daf Lamed Vav. We're going to begin on the very top line on Lamed Vav Amud Aleph. Abaye Oimer Hainu Taimid Isi. This is the reason of Isi. In yesterday's daf, we mentioned that Isi learns that Bal Yikrachu, when it comes to the Isser of ripping out your hair in the time when a person is in Avelus, Nashim Paturos. He said that women are pater, and he ended up using the drasha because it says banim atem Hashem alkeichem, and the drasha he said was banim below benos lekarcha. So on this, Rabbi says as follows: Abai oimer hainu taimer isi the gomer karcha mimdi aron. It's because of exer shava malho nashim baturos. Just like over there says Rashi, Gabi Emerald Kohanim. So over there, women are pater. If you want to tell me that it's talking about everything, it's not just talking about the beginning, which talks about the dinim of Tumas mace. So nishta krami nebetes mekabachaymer. If it's coming to include everything, or nekabachaymer ani and mina. Now it's saying, Ma Kohanim Shiri Behena Custom Mitzvahs Yiseros B'nei Aron V'lo Benos Aharon. We know that someone who is a Kohen has a lot more mitzvahs than someone like myself, a non-Kohen. Nonetheless, we say the din is only for the B'nei Aron, not Benos Aharon. So Yisol Koshikain. So it would be already obvious that women would be pater. So Ilav Gzer Shava Havamina Hifsek Inyan. So the point is that because there's this Gezer Shava of Karcha, if it wasn't for that Gezer Shava, you would think Hifsak Inyan, and that women are not included in this entire Parsha, because maybe you would, again, think there's Psukim in between, as we saw in yesterday's daf. Because of that, you would think that women are Takachayiv in Bal Karcha, so therefore the din of Karcha, this Gezer Shava tells you that women are pater. So Hashinami name Hifsaginian. So why don't we say again Hifsaginian? Now Vimishim Gzer Shava. So if there's a Gzer Shava, so what's the purpose of the Gzer Shava? If women are Taka Chayev. So Meboyel Gsanya. Maybe it's coming to tell you something else. Well Yikuchu Yachol Afil Karach Arba Chamish Karachais. If you would rip 4 and 5 times, Lehi Chayvel Achas, maybe only Chayvel once, Talmud Lemer Karcha, Chayvel Kol Achas Achas. So that tells you that you're Chayv on every single time that you rip your hair out. Then it says Baroisha Matamolom Rafish Nemar Lotis Gaidadu Vosimu Karchabeinechem Lames. It says the person is not allowed to make gashes, cut themselves, and they're also not allowed to rip their hair out between their eyes. In the event you're doing it as a sign of mourning for a mace. Yachol Yehichayv El Al Bein Heinaim. You would think maybe the whole Isser is difference between the eyes. When they're in Rabbus Kol Harosh, how do we know the din is on your entire head? Talmud Loimer Boroishim L'chayev Al Harosh K'bein Heinaim. Even though it says Bein Heinaim, but the din is that you would be chayev on anywhere on the head. Mainly El Kohanim Shri Behem Akosem Mitzvahs Yiseros. Maybe the Isser is only for Kohanim. Yisrael Manolan, so never kan karch, never hon karch. We have a Gzer Shava. Ma kan chayev al kol karch v'karcha, v'chayev al haroish K'bein Heinaim. So just like over there, you're chayev on every ripping, and you're also chayev on the entire head, just like between the eyes. Afal chayev al kol karch v'karcha, v'chayev al haroish K'bein Heinaim. U'mal hon al meis, afkan al meis. So the din is, it's dafka, you're only chayev if you do it al hameis. So anyway, the kasha is, how do we know that the Gzer Shava, Karcha, is coming to tell you that women are pater from the din of ripping the hair out? Why do we say it's coming to teach us the Gzer Shava, that you're, again, chayev al kol karcha, and you're chayev al haroish, k'bein heinayim. So im kein nichtav kerach, my karcha shma min atarti. So the fact that it's written in this way, it's coming to actually teach us two things. In other words, it's true. It is shaykh that the Gzer Shava is teaching us this, but it's also coming to tell you that women are pater from the Isser of ripping their hair out. So Rabbi Oimer Hainu Time at EC, the reason, that's what Abai says. It's based on this Gzer Shava. Rabbi says the reason is the Yelf Bein Einechem Tefillin. He learns that from Tefillin. Malhol Nasha Baturos, Avkan Nasha Baturos. As we saw already, that women are pater from Tefillin because it's juxtaposed to Talmud Torah and says, So therefore, so too women are potter from tefillin, and all other mitzvahs aseh shazman grama. So just like when it comes to tefillin, we know women are potter, so too women are potter from this as well. Rava, my time alone Abaye. So Rava, that's his reason. Why couldn't he say the reason of Abaye when he brings down the pshat? Is because of the gzer shava. So he says kerach karcha lo mashmele. He says it's not a new gzer shava. It's not a good gzer shava. Yabai my time alone Rava. Omer loch tefillin gufayu mihach gamula. So how do we learn out tefillin? Malhon makam shoyis in karcha b'goyve shalrai shavkan makam hanacha b'goyve haraish. So it's coming to tell you that this is the source of where to put on our tefillin shel rosh, and it's coming to tell you on the top of the head, as opposed to literally between your eyes. Ubein lo Abai ben lo Rava hai banim atem my darshi bei. What does he do with banim, which we use the drush of banim v'lo banos? So hamiboyel nesanya banim atem l'Hashem alkeichem izman shem nohagim minhag banim. When you act like children, atem kurim banim, then you're called that. Ein atem nohagim minhag banim, ein atem kurim banim divrei Yehuda. If you don't act like a child of Hashem, if you're not banim atem Hashem alkeichem, if you don't act like a child, so you're not going to be called a child. Even if we're not necessarily acting as we should as children of Hashem, we're still called banim. Shenamar banim secholim heima. They're like foolish children, but they're still called banim. And furthermore, with another pasuk, banim will aimun bam, not to have trust in them. V'omer zera mirayim banim mashchisim. So again, we have all these psukim. Zera, this child who's mirayim banim mashchisim, those are destructors. V'omer b'haya b'makam asher yarmel lehem lo amiatem. And in a place where they say that I am not this nation, yarmel lehem, we say no, b'nei kil chai. So my view, why do you have to have all these psukim to mention basically the same thing, that we're still called banim even if we don't act like banim? V'chitema sichalihu de mikri b'nei. Someone who's foolish as a child. Ki leis bahu heman nyosaihu lumer b'kanei. So it's possible, okay, fine, we're foolish, but at least we have some emuna in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Says Rashi, kishen behem el shtus. That's when we're called banim, because we're foolish. How el kishehem rishayim, when we're wicked, the leis bahu hemnusa, and we don't even have any emuna in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So maybe we're not called banim. Even when we don't have faith, we're still called banim. When we don't have faith, we're called that. However, when we brazenly start worshiping idols, even those who are engaged in avodah zarah are still called banim. We're considered like destructive. B'nei malya lo mikra, we're not considered like good kids, right? Tashema v'yomer b'hay b'makam asher yarmel lehem lo amiatem yarmel lehem b'nei kil chai. So we said that no, it's not just that we're banim mashchisim, we're banim malya, we're considered to be proper kids. Okay, let's stop 1 second. Let's look at Taisus. Tefillin gufay mahachin garminolo v'yesh lemer d'shema lo nigmer gzer shava el hashminan makom menachas tefillin. The idea is maybe the whole notion of the gzer shava is dafka to tell you how to put on the tefillin. Question 13. Man nilman mehekesh techsev beinei nechem b'tefillin v'karcha. What do we learn out that says beinei nechem regarding the tefillin and the isser about karcha? So according to Rava, the gzer shava we learn out from isi to pater nashim mikarcha kishem should put teres with tefillin. According to Abaye, he learns out the mekaymen shel tefillin b'makom seir. It's a place where there's hair. Kishem shekarcha eno el b'makom seir. Just like the isser about karcha, obviously you have to have hair. So too it means bein nechem means mamish in a place where there is hair. Question TB4. B'hayu tatafos beinei nechem. Menolan de b'makom tefillin enu bein heinayim mamish el halarosh. How do we know that the tefillin is supposed to go above the head and not literally between the eyes? TB4. So migzer shava, because we have gzer shava to beinei nechem ha'omer b'karch lameis v'asam lo mishkachas on el b'makom seir, because it's only shaykh to be able to have the tefillin in a makom of seir, because the isser of of balkorcha, of ripping, is obviously a place where there's hair, right? So therefore, it has to be referring to that, and therefore that's what's coming to tell you. The whole point of this Gezer Shava is just to tell us tefillin gufayim hacha gamula. This is how we learn out the place that tefillin makam hanacha begoyva haraish, that it has to be on that part of the head. Let's look in Rashi. Kloimer ahi Gezer Shava debein enechem miboyle ligmar makam tefillin mihacha dotem bebein enechem mamish. Don't tell me it's mamish between the eyes. Dainu al padachtoi, like on your forehead. El yov mebein enechem de karcha b'makom seir de belav makoim lo mishkachas karcha v'hainu lamala mipadachtoi. So it has to be above the forehead because there's no hair that grows over here. So it's not shaykh to put the tefillin there because it's not makom seir. Unless you have a unibrow. But on a serious note, that's telling you that that's the din. You have to have tefillin beinei necha, but if it's just like the mace of balkorcha, of you ripping your hair over here, obviously there's a tremendous connection, which is unbelievable to think about, the notion of connecting your mind spiritually with tefillin and connecting yourself to this mace by ripping your hair out. Perhaps we have to understand this. A person who wears tefillin properly on their head, they're not shaykh to be able to rip their hair out, because that's the makoim of where they're going to rip their hair out. So on a simple level, you're not shaykh to rip your hair out beinei necha if you're wearing the tefillin in that right place. But obviously it's come to tell us more than that. It's come to tell us that there's an inyan of wearing tefillin. And when you wear tefillin, you're connecting yourself to HaKadosh Baruch Hu in a way that gives you a different understanding of how to be able to relate to all things in this world, even things which are tragic. And therefore you're not going to come to be over the Isra Balkorcha if a person wears tefillin. It has to be some element of that. There must be that connection that needs further elaboration. Let's see the next Mishnah. Masnisin. Hasmicha, when it comes to the din of smicha, putting your hands on an animal, Ba'tenufois, and waving, B'hagashais, bringing the animal close, V'kamitzais, when it comes to do with the flower offering. Rashi doesn't explain what these are. This is Davar Pashit. V'katayris, being makta the katayris on the Mizbeach HaZahav. V'malikois, referring to the shechita of a bird is done with the thumb of the Kohen with malika. V'kabalois, and the bringing of being makabel the blood from the carbon in a kli sharis, v'hazais, and sprinkling it, nuhangan ba'anoshim v'l'banoshim. All these things apply for men and not for women. Rashi says, "V'fil hi kohenes ein ha'avoda kashera." It doesn't matter, even if the woman is a kohenes, she can't do this. Says, let's finish the Mishnah. Chutz min mincha saita u'nazira shehin menifais. So there's no din tenufa. We don't wave the animals. However, when it comes to women, if it's a mincha of sota or a woman who's a nazira, we do tenufa. Look in Taisus. Now, what is it? It's v'halachas rika lokatani. It's interesting. Out of the Arba Voidais, it talks about malika. It talks about kabbalah, but it doesn't talk about halacha, bringing the blood, and it also in v'hazais. It does mention about the sprinkling. Over here, Taisa says, halacha zrika lokatani. The halacha b'chlal kabbalah. The reason why we don't mention halacha, bringing the dam from the makam hashchita to the mizbeach, because it's really linked to kabbalah. Shahari min v'hikriva hakoyin nafka kamoi kabbalah uzrika b'chlal hazah. When it talks about hazah, it's talking about the sprinkling. L'chayr, it's talking about the sprinkling of mechatas. It says Rashi, ve'enu mazid dam chatas oif. Okay, the sprinkling of the dam of the chatas oif. So it's comparable to zrika. V'im timer frektaisas amai itzrach kra b'gemar li'amyuti nashim. Why do we need all these psukim? As we're going to see, typically the kul mitzvah seishas man grama havi shar enu nuhagos el b'yoyim. We know that the base of mikdash, the avoda could only be done during b'yoyim. So it's Azman grama. Lo have yadina and shahavoda b'sula behen the mechali avoda b'avodosam psula. So that's the kasha. Why exactly we need this? Ayin taisus. Okay, so now the Gemara is going to basically just systematically go through each case of our Mishnah that's only known for men, not women. Gemara. Smichos t'chsev daber b'nei Yisrael v'samach. It says b'nei Yisrael v'samach. B'nei Yisrael saimchin and b'nei Yisrael saimchais. Tenufos, the waving. Daber b'nei Yisrael v'henif. So b'nei Yisrael menifin v'b'nei Yisrael menifais. Hagashais, bringing close. T'chsev v'zois Torah hamincha hakri b'yisa b'nei Aaron v'b'nei Aaron. So when it comes to the mincha offering, the flour offering, when you're makriv it, it's only b'nei Aaron. Kamitzais. Once you take the flour offering, you take the kamitza with the 3 middle fingers. T'chsev v'haviyoah el b'nei Aaron v'kamatz b'nei Aaron v'lo b'nei Aaron. Hakdaris. T'chsev v'ktiru oiso b'nei Aaron. B'nei Aaron v'lo b'nei Aaron. Again, it's constantly excluding not just women in general, but even b'nai Aaron. Habalikos, for the bird. T'chsev malach v'hiktir. So iskish maliko hakdara. That just like the hakdara, it says b'nei Aaron. So to malika has to be davka b'nei Aaron. Hakabolis. Kabbalas Adam. T'chsev hikriba b'nei Aaron. So the Amar Mar, as we continue to Lamed Hamid Vav, Lamed Vav Amid Beis, rather, V'hikrivu zu Kabbalas Adam. So he makes this drasha that V'hikrivu is referring to Kabbalas Adam. V'hazois, the sprinkling of the blood. So Hazah Dehecha. So first, it's not so clear in the Mishnah what that means. So where is this? Ida para, if we're referring to the Hazaz Dam of the Paraduma, Elazar Kosivba, even a regular Kohen is disqualified. So that's a double pashut. Difnim, if we're talking about the Hazal which takes place inside the Paroiches and the Mizbech Zahav, that it says Par Kayin Mashiach or Par Helam Davar Shel Tzibor. So HaKohen Mashiach Kosubah has to be like the Kohen Gadol who was anointed. So obviously not women, not even a regular Kohen. El Hazah de Ben Oif. It's coming to tell you even a Hazah of a bird, referring to specifically by a Chatas Oif. When it comes to the Karban Chatas, Rashi brings down the pasuk V'hizo Hadam HaChatas. So we need to tell us in that case that women are possible. Why? Says the Gemara. To ask them ben Sain. Could maybe learn out from a sheep. Ma ben Sain, when it comes to a sheep, shul kavel loy kain lo shchitasai. We know that even a non-Kohen could do the shchita. This is something that Shmuel learned that when he taught this bifnei Rabbi in front of Eli HaKohen. Says Rashi shechita kasher bizar dechsev shachad as ben habakar behikriv b'nei Aharon. So it's not very clear. It's only Mekabal ve'elach mitzvahs kahuna limad al shchita kasher bizar. Again, that's the Gemara in the 5th parak in Brachos, quoted over here in Lamed Beis. Rashi quotes. It's all story again. The whole story with Shmuel and Eli Cohen and Chana. Tfilas Chana is over there. So anyway, so we know that a non-Kohen is able to do the shchita of a carbon. Nonetheless, even in that case, kavaloi kanal hazasai, when it comes to the zrika of its blood, you need to have an actual kohen, as Rashi says, v'zark b'nei Aharon. So ben oiv shekavaloi kainamuli kasai. When it comes to a bird, a non-kohen is not allowed to do that. A non-kohen can do the shchita, but not the malika. So enodin shik v'lo hazaso. So davar pashit that only a kohen is able to do the zrika sadam of a chatas ha'oiv. Question 14. So again, ma carbon behem the shchita sakshir bizar hisr kain zacher bezachiris damoy. So carbon oif she hitzrach kain b'malikaso and odin shitzarach kain zacher bezrikas damoy. Okay, chutz meninchas soita unazira. So the exception where tedufa does take place is if a woman brings a mincha offering as a soita or as a nazira. So Amalei Rabbi Lezo Rabbi Yeshaya Didare. So he says the following. It says Rashi Shahaya B'Dairo in his generation a moira kamaisai. So does he say? Lo tesev akarach. Don't sit on your feet, on your ankles. Don't get comfortable until you say to me, how do we know that a mincha saita needs waving? So Manolan, what do you mean, how do we know? What's your shaila? We already know this is a davar pasha. The pasuk says explicitly that you're supposed to do a wave offering on the mincha offering. So what's the difference of mincha saita? The question is, how do we know that the person who brings it themselves is supposed to participate in the waving? Maybe you would think only the Kohen is the one that does it, not the Baal. So Asya Yad Mishlam, because we learn out of Gezer Shav. What is that? That when it comes to the mincha saita, when it comes to the Kohen takes it from the hand of the woman. Ksiv Hasam Yadav Tiviena, and it says Yadav Tiviena, and that's clearly referring to the Baal. So Malaho Makan Kohen Afahol and Kohen, Malaho and Baalim Afkan Baalim. So one pasuk it talks about the Baal does it. The other pasuk talks about the owner does it. So Aketzad Kohen Machnis Yadoy Tachas Yad Baalim. So the Kohen puts his hands under the hands of the Baal, and he waves. So Ashkachan Saita. So now we understand the din of a Saita because that's the pasuk based on this Gezer Shava Nazir Minol. And how do we know? Also, when it comes to Nazira, we do Tenufa in the same manner, even though it's a woman. Asik kaf kaf mesaita. So again, we go now from Gezer Shava, different Gezer Shava, and Rashi quotes it in Saita. It says Benosan al kapeha. The Nazir said Benosan al kape hanazir. Since it says the word kaf, the palms by both of them, so therefore that's the din. Look at Taisus. We're going to actually stop there. Look at Taisus. Machtas kain yadav tachas yadabalim dim timer b'ha'hav chatzitza. How is that allowed? For Taisus, it's a chatzitza between the offering and the hands of the kohen. So it says Taisus, Yeshomid the lo dam hacha hainu taima do have a chatzitza b'chiyai gan lafishu who exerts a custom to be in kohen obalim. You can't call a chatzitza if the pasuk is telling you that's how you're supposed to do it, right? So it's not a shaila. Maybe technically it looks like a chatzitza, but that's what the Torah is telling you how to do it. Okay. And then it says, maybe it doesn't put his hands literally underneath it, and therefore it becomes a chatzitza. They hold the kli below, but balam oichasin lamala, and the owner holds it on the top. So it's possible that maybe both people are actually holding this item. Adkan.